Imagine they ask you the question, hai il passaporto? And you want to answer, I have it, with a pronoun. So at the speed of light, you start thinking, okay, passaporto, masculine, singular, direct object, so the pronoun is lo. I'm going to place it before the verb. There's a vowel, I'm going to get rid of the vowel, stick in the apostrophe, and finally, you're going to answer lo. Now, from a grammar point of view, you would be correct. But in real life, people would say ce l'ho. What is that ce? Ciao a tutti, sono Raf. In this video, I want to talk about the use of ci with the verb avere. I'm not going to talk about all the different meanings and uses of ci. I'm just going to concentrate on this one aspect, ci with the verb avere. We're talking about expressions like the one we've just seen, ce l'ho, ce l'hai, ce l'avevo, or expressions like c'ho fame instead of ho fame, non c'ho voglia instead of non ho voglia, c'hai ragione instead of hai ragione, che c'hai instead of che cos'hai, and so on. All these expressions have one thing in common. They use ci with the verb avere. I'm going to focus on three questions. La prima, what is the meaning of this ci? La seconda, why do we use it? E la terza, do we have to use it? Is it correct? The answer to the first question is easy, although it might be a little bit disappointing. Ci doesn't add anything to the sentence. It doesn't have any meaning. By the way, I'm talking about ci in general. Ci, ce is the same word. Ci becomes ce when it is followed by a pronoun. It's just a pronunciation thing, but it is the same word. So the word is ci, and then it turns into ce, but there's no difference, or C apostrophe. Always the same word. So I'm always referring to it as ci for simplicity. So ci doesn't have any meaning in this context. It doesn't add anything to the sentence. So when I answer the question, hai il passaporto, when I answer ce l'ho, it just means I have it. So the same as l'ho. In the other examples, when I say c'ho fame, it means ho fame. There's no difference. At least there's a difference in register, as we will see later, but in terms of meaning, there's no difference. C'ho fame means ho fame. So in terms of meaning, ci doesn't add anything to our sentences. So why do we use it? The answer to this question comes from Francesco Sabatini. Francesco Sabatini is a linguist and was the president of the Accademia della Crusca. Francesco Sabatini says, ci è un rinforzo semantico e fonico. Basically, he is telling us that ci is there just to reinforce the sentence, to make it a little bit stronger. He talks also about rinforzo fonico. Think about that first example when we answer ce l'ho to the question, hai il passaporto. If we just answer l'ho, that's a very short answer. It is just one syllable, which is actually two words, because l'apostrophe means it, and then you have o, which means I have. So in a very short word, in a very short syllable, l'ho, we have two words, and it's kind of hard to understand, easy to miss, let's say, if I just answer l'ho. Whereas if I put ce in front of it, it just makes the sentence a little bit stronger and easier to understand. Ce l'ho is easier to understand than l'ho. So this is what he means when he says rinforzo fonico. So we've seen ci doesn't add any meaning to the sentence, but it just makes it a little bit stronger. Final point, do we have to use it? Is it correct? And here we're going to say what Luca Serianni has to say. If you don't know Luca Serianni, he's a linguist and kind of the authority in grammar things. And he's the author of this book called Grammatica Italiana, which is an excellent reference book, very big, like 730 pages, and maybe not the most user-friendly. You can see it's quite dense, and it's in Italian, of course. But anyway, I will make another video where I talk about grammar books. So for now, let's see what he has to say about this. In molte frasi della lingua viva incardinate sul verbo avere, l'uso di ci può dirsi obbligatorio. A una domanda come hai il biglietto? Si risponde sì o ce l'ho, non col semplice l'ho. The answer here is very clear. L'uso è obbligatorio when we have those sentences with the pronoun and the verb avere, like our very first example. So the correct answer to hai il passaporto is ce l'ho and not l'ho. One thing to clarify here, when we talk about the verb avere, we're not talking about avere as an auxiliary verb. You know, we use the verb avere as an auxiliary to form the passato prossimo. So if I ask you, hai comprato il pane, for example, the answer is l'ho comprato. We never use ci in these sentences. In these sentences, o, so the verb avere, is the auxiliary of comprare. So here we're just talking about sentences where avere is the main verb. Do you have the passport? Hai il passaporto? Sì, ce l'ho. But in sentences like hai comprato il pane, the correct and only answer is sì, l'ho comprato. Never use ci in those sentences. So with the pronoun and the verb avere, Serianni told us ci è obbligatorio. We have to use it. What about the other sentences? Ho fame o c'ho fame? Non c'ho voglia o non ho voglia? Which one is right? Let's see again what Serianni has to say. Nel parlato informale di molte parti d'Italia si usa ci in frasi come c'ho freddo. Si tratta di costrutti che non hanno cittadinanza nella lingua scritta. So he's telling us three things here. First of all, these expressions are informal. Second, he says in certe parti d'Italia, so bear in mind there might be regional differences. And finally, he's telling us that we should never use these expressions in written language. In written language, we would also have a problem of spelling. How do we write these expressions? Because in the first one, I wrote, for example, c'ho fame as C apostrophe. But if we want to be strict, we should read that as co fame, which doesn't mean anything. But there is no way of writing that C apostrophe and make it sound ch. So there's a whole problem there. And there's a whole article dedicated to this. I'll link the article in the description if you really want to read it. But the main thing for us is that we won't use these expressions in written language. And we have to remember they are informal. Personally, I don't use them very often. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I say c'ho fame o non c'ho voglia. But in very specific situations, maybe informal situations, if I talk with my family, for example, or something like that. But normally, I don't use them very much. So to summarize, always use ci when you have a pronoun. Ce l'ho, ce l'hai. But careful, don't say, for example, if you want to ask, do you have the passport? Don't say, ce l'hai il passaporto. That's a bit redundant. You really don't need to say that. Just say, hai il passaporto. But in the answer, yes, ce l'ho. Always use it. Remember, obbligatorio. Then the other expressions, c'ho fame, c'ho sete, c'ho freddo, non c'ho voglia, c'hai ragione. It is up to you. But remember that they are informal. And if you are in doubt, my advice would be don't use them. Just go for a plain sentence. Ho fame, ho freddo, non ho voglia, etc. Grazie per avermi seguito. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can subscribe if you enjoyed the video. E noi ci vediamo alla prossima. Ciao a tutti.